roll call, please.
Yes. McGinnis Roark.
Here.
Wellman.
Here.
Cotton.
Here.
Warnick.
Here.
Royster.
Here.
All right, district update. Matt Thompson, since you are the youngest, you are new here, we'll let you go before Mr. Carr. Sorry, Mr. Carr, I didn't mean to be old.
Quite all right.
You saying some of us are old?
No, I'm right there with you, I'm almost knocking on 50. Oh.
Oh, not sure yet. Well, your brother Stephen is old, is the age of my son.
Yeah, he's 51,
Oh, well, Scott started 52.
about 52.
Scotty turned 52 last week.
All right,
My name is Matt Thompson. I'm the new athletic director at the high school. I gave you all a handout here with just kind of some just general, real short athletic department goals. I don't think a whole lot of your time with this stuff. But I appreciate you letting me come tonight and just kind of put a face to the name.
wait a minute, can you step back and pull your mask down so we can actually see your face for a second?
Yeah,
Are you
yeah.
from around here?
Yes, ma'am. I'm from Westwood.
Okay, now you pull back up and move closer again. Just nice to see what someone looks
I'm a
like.
retired teacher, so sometimes those people would say,
Okay. I taught special ed for about 8 years and then got the opportunity to do this, so I kind of moved in here. But just some general goals. I have facility goals. I know the main one for many years has been getting the football bleachers replaced because, as you all well know, those are getting to be a pretty big liability. Also, would kind of like to do some track and field upgrades to be able to host some meets. There's a couple of small things that don't meet the requirements of the KHSA to be able to host big, multi-team meets. Those are a pretty good money maker for a low cost. I mean, it's a lot of cost up front to get the facilities required, but after they're there, that's a pretty good money maker. It doesn't cost a whole lot after that to host these meets, and you charge teams, several $100 to come, and you can bring 50 teams here with the amount of space and parking and stuff we have. So that's one of my goals. Another one's a cross country.
What are those things?
Thank you. That was on my
Oh, okay.
list.
There's some problems with, we don't have a pole vault area, a pole vault pit, which is a big event. Our long sand pit, runway isn't long enough. It will have to be moved somewhere else. And track, I know it was previously redone, but it's not in very good shape as far as, I don't know if the company that had it refinished before didn't do a very good job or what's happened, but there's a lot of unlevel spaces where it holds water, and it looks like there may be a water leak under it currently right now, and it's starting to kind of bubble over in some areas. So,
That's Lance's fault.
Not doing a good job on the first, recently was exactly what happened to it.
well, yeah, I don't, and I wasn't here for that. I don't know what happened with it or anything, but the water leak, that's just kind of something that has happened recently, and that's not really any.
Right. It just happened.
Yeah.
Leaks happen.
So obviously that's kind of probably a longer term goal, not any time in the short term, but especially with the kind of the financial situation we're in with COVID. And then also a cross country course. When I was at a previous district, we hosted an enormous cross country meet, and that's another one of those things where it's really low cost. Once you have the course lined out, you can bring again 50 teams, charge them $25 a kid, and just let them go. And all we have in it is however much it costs us to cut the grass. But that was a big money maker at the school I was at previously.
How big was it? How far is the cross country run?
They have different kind of qualifying needs. It kind of just depends on what I'll do more research on that. And I'm not exactly sure how much land our district has available for a cross country. I'm still kind of looking into what all qualifying, everything that qualifies you to be a KHSA sanctioned meet. These are things I'm hopefully going to look once basketball season kind of calms down. Because right now, like I said, I'm just kind of holding on by the reins, trying to get
Every
through
day is
basketball.
in a game, literally.
Yes.
It's a new game, yes.
It's been quite hectic. So these are all things I'm hopefully going to look into towards the end of
Is it me or
this
what?
school year.
Right after that.
Then just some like small middle school upgrades. I noticed, I went to this middle school game last night and, the scoreboards are in really poor condition at Wordland. And I know we have a contract with Coca-Cola that are supposed to upkeep those, so look into some different things, with them. And then, my grand long-term may never happen, but it's what I'm gonna shoot for. Goal is to have some sort of auxiliary building, so all of our different, teams aren't fighting for space, practice space, gym time. The way our county's laid out and where the school is, once you could send kids home on a bus, it's really hard to get them back here for a practice or an event or something, so. Having just extra space, would help out tremendously with participation and kids being involved.
This auxiliary building, you talking about one for each elementary for middle school?
I would probably, my initial plan would be an auxiliary gym just behind the high school for the entire district. You can bus the
An
middle school.
auxiliary building you're talking about,
Yes, sir, yeah.
not a gym, but
Not necessarily a gym to host events, but just a building with,
to store stuff.
not to store things, but to have just an open space, so if basketball has the gym this night, cheer can go in there and practice, you can have indoor practices year round for.
We got a nice piece of property up there.
It'd be like a gym.
Yeah, but not to host.
Well, I get this there.
Yeah,
We
multi-purpose.
got a nice one consider in the county.
Do I?
Not big
Just
problem.
so teams can practice year round indoors and not have to fight over, soccer can be in there right now practicing there.
You want to get more, what's called a headache, what you're trying to do, or make us.
Oh, yeah, poor Ray.
But any other questions about anything on there?
I applaud you for going to the middle schools and looking at things.
Yeah, there's a lot of, some of
That
the
you have a
things.
vision.
Yeah.
That's all you want to know.
Yeah.
That's easy.
So thank you very much.
Northern middle school.
And that's kind of on there, on down toward the bottom, but then it's just some financial goals is just to get some more sponsorships. Our visiting football bleachers over there is a prime, it's basically a billboard. You get all the 23 north traffic. So putting some sponsorships behind there, either one big one or several smaller ones. I'm still kind of doing research on, how billboard sponsorships work. That's not anything I've really ever thought of, but I've called a couple of companies and it's just me trying to figure out what exactly ours is worth, because it is kind of off the road a little bit and a little lower, but I would imagine it would be at least worth half what the billboard companies are charging, which is around $450, depending on your contract. It's $450 month by month, but if you sign longer contracts, it's a little lower. So, just looking into some sponsorships for that. The streaming service that you all approved to have equipped on the football and in the basketball games actually gives us some opportunities for watermark sponsors that can show up throughout the entire production of our game. And I've talked with the guy that runs Cool Hits, and he's kind of given me some pricing ideas for how much to charge for those watermarks. Mr. Collier and I talked a little about adding some more stuff into it with his like the production side with his class that he has over there. So we could even do in-game commercials, timeout sponsorships, free throw sponsorships, different things like that. And that was all his idea, so I'm not gonna take any
How many
credit
people
for
we
that.
have, how many subscriptions we have on that?
It depends night to night, when we played Russell here, we had over 300 people watching in
Did we really?
basketball. Yeah.
Dang.
On this live stream?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay.
And yeah, typically we're right around the 100, 150 mark, but those bigger games we've been getting. And it's really just now catching on. A lot of schools in Lexington have it currently, but it's really just catching on in this area. For football, we only had 2 big varsity games, but we also stream middle school games. We just got a check for $112, so not a whole lot there, but when you take into
We
effect,
get $5 for each subscription or something?
it's like percentage based
Okay.
on what kind of subscription they buy. But so I think this basketball season will kind of give us a better idea of how much we could plan to make from that subscription, just because we're hosting way more events.
And Carl, kind of to piggyback onto something he was talking about, the number of viewers, when MyTown TV was coming in and was providing that service, and it was a free service, the typical average night was somewhere around 400 viewers that would be on there and maintain a connection. So we're not too far off that now. You know, being in a pandemic, how much does that help on that side of too? But for it to be a paid service and still seeing those numbers, we're pretty close.
Well, the other thing is how many people know we actually got that still.
Exactly.
It's posted on social media accounts every time that we have a game, you know, game here at this time, stream at NFHS network. Every time we have a team come, I send them, you know, we have streaming rights with this company, here's the link for you to send to your fans. So we're trying to get the word out. It'll take a little time, but
So do we get a percentage if their fans watch it also? At our
yeah,
home- at our place?
whoever's watching our stream.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's, once it takes off more in this area, I think it'll be a really good thing. Just another thing, just field sponsors and facility sponsorships. We could get, hopefully get someone to sponsor, you know, our field house at the football field, or locker rooms, or the clubhouse at the baseball field. Not necessarily to sell out, but just kind of offer these things up to our companies just to get more of a financial benefit for our athletic department. And just some overall goals I had is just mainly increasing participation in our athletics. I was just looking at a survey today that kids did last year, and the overwhelming reason kids said that they did not participate is they didn't have a way here or home. So that kind of goes back to that finding enough facilities where everyone can practice right after school. And I know there used to be an activity bus here. I don't know how,
We
you
can
know,
work on that.
how that can, I've thought about different ways, whether, you know, having the sports boosters kind of supply half of that cost, depending on how many get on there. There's a bunch of different ideas I've had. I want to kind of get logistically if it would work first before I worry about kind of, you know, I don't know how it worked in the past. I don't know if you'd send a bus to one end of the county and just have like a bus stop, people get
They
there.
went to the middle schools.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Bus left here, went to the middle school, and then they picked
A
up.
central place to pick the kids up. I think it helped.
Yeah, I think that's something that was overwhelmingly the reason the kids said they didn't participate, was not a way to get here, or, you know. Increase attendance in all athletic events, just not only for the money side of it, but just to kind of get a little bit more excitement for our athletics in Greenup County. And I've talked to some other athletic directors, talked to Mr. Sparks about this a lot, kind of what they did at Russell. And they offered different things, all sports passes. You know, you could just pay one flat rate up front, and this gets you into every sporting event in the fall. Obviously, they would probably mainly buy that for the football games, but your hope is they're just out, nothing to do, oh, we'll just run over to this volleyball game real quick. So just trying to get more attendance. Another one would be to increase unity between middle schools. I coached baseball here for several years, and I noticed you get the kids from Wortland and you get the kids from McHale, and it's like they've never met each other. They kind of ostracize each other. They don't really want to mess with each other. So I want to kind of bring them closer together under not necessarily combined middle schools, but just kind of let them know that we're all part of the same. We're all going towards the same goals, basically. And you know, football and baseball is already kind of combined, but with things like volleyball and basketball, I'd like to see more maybe conjoined practices or camps. That's something we could do here at the high school. Let them see these high school facilities, kind of give them something to look forward to, hopefully. But just kind of getting them together more so they can kind of interact a little bit and build a relationship. So when they get to that high school team, it's not just some random people on the team that you don't know about. I really want to try to limit the coach turnover, and this is something, I don't really know the reason for the coach turnover in the past. It's something I'm still kind of trying to investigate. learning. This is something I learn more at the end of each season when I do some coaching evaluation. Talk to them and kind of see where they feel supported, where they don't. But I think we have an advantage here because this is a really good place for newer coaches. Newer coaches have gotten their chances here. They've been successful here. But our problem has always been keeping those coaches here. So hopefully, you know, the coach offers, I feel like we've had 4 different coaches since I've been here this year. So that I really want to try to get more consistent coaching. Just because it hurts the kids to have such a rollover in all these different sports. And then the last is just to improve communication between high schools and middle schools coaching staffs. I talked to Ms. Brace about this a few days ago. I'm going to require some meet and greets and some trainings between high school and middle school coaching staffs, not only so we're all kind of on the same playing field, but those middle school coaches need to feel supported and know where they can go if they need help. I think I was at one of those middle school games and one of the high school basketball coaches were there. And that's the first time I've ever seen a high school basketball coach in one of the middle school gyms. So, and he went and introduced himself and just kind of let him, I want to see more things like that. Our coaches collaborating together to help each other.
Agreed.
Hopefully, these are some things that I can get achieved fairly quickly. Does anybody have any questions, or should y'all take any suggestions too? You all got, you guys know the county better than I do, so. Any questions or suggestions? I'm all for it.
Oh, we always have suggestions. We just have to think on it. We ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I can come back at any time if you guys just want me to check in with where I'm at or how I'm doing, or if you have things that pop up, you just let me know.
I would just
Definitely
like,
like at some point in the summer. I'm sorry, Tracy.
no, I was just gonna say, I appreciate the fact that, I talked to him earlier in the week and I said, hey, he said, yeah, actually, I want to come meet them. I mean, he wanted to come in and talk to you guys and put a face with the name. And, Matt comes with a lot of integrity, and that's really important in this position. And so I have to compliment him on the fact that he understands how important sports can be to your community, and it kind of is your front porch sometimes. People, that's what makes the papers regularly, that's what people talk about. No matter how much we obviously know that the real reason for school is educational purposes, part of the student life is being imparted athletics and the extracurriculars. And so I'm really confident, I'm excited that he did these things. This wasn't anything that Tracy Maurice said put together. This is just, he just did this. So he's self-motivated, and I think we have a bright future ahead of us. So thank you very much.
Very good.
Yeah.
I think you're.
You don't have to stay for the whole meeting.
Did you have something to do?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes,
sorry.
no, I'm just, definitely in the summer, I'd like to check back in. You
Yeah.
know, it's a lot of the facility stuff.
I would like you to join our, when we start doing our next strategic planning session, and maybe have him come to the local planning committee meeting. I'll get you some dates.
So, do we have any leg to stand on with that track? 'Cause you
I
all,
thought we checked. in.
2007, no, I mean, 2017, it wasn't that long ago.
Don't blame us.
I think they gave you a year. I think it was a year warning.
Well, that is one question.
I just know it was a lousy job.
As the track stands now, granted, you can't have, even if we built a pole vault, we found somewhere else, can the track be used for a KHSAA meet?
Not as of now.
That's real simple. There's no spent there.
There's a chance until that water leak, and now it's bubbling up, and it's.
Well,
Just lose the digits?
was under the understanding
Well,
The chair holes.
but no, as it stands
That's
now,
like
no,
It
we
just
keep
wasn't a
that.
very good job.
Yes, you will.
Look, that's it.
Well done.
Can I just interrupt us and say that Greenup County just went orange?
Yay!
I'm so excited. I've never been excited about orange ever.
So that's the only time you hear me clap for that. too.
That
Yeah.
is the only time.
Lance, I know that was a lot for you.
It was hard to clap
She
for
said
that.
Green County just went orange.
No, I'm sorry. Matt,
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Matt, thank you so much.
I'll have some
Thank you.
dates for you whenever we start meeting again on, local planning committee
Okay.
for, facilities and district facility planning. But then we also have, strategic planning, and I wanted to tie some athletics in that anyway.
Yeah, you have your input and all that.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds great.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we want to
appreciate
include you. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Tony Carr, I saved the best for last.
Oh, boy.
Well, do you want me to step back? Or you
Don't do us any favors.
Well, that is so hard when you don't, I mean, what if we see him out and he doesn't have his mask on, he's be like,
Who is that?
Yeah,
rude?
yeah.
Thank you.
No problem
Thanks.
saying all
Thanks,
that.
Matt.
Have a good evening, man.
You too.
Good evening. I want to start out with saying I'm not here to ask for money. And,
Well, we were feeling giving tonight.
tonight would have been the
Tonight would be the
night,
night.
but I just blew it. What I've done over the last couple of months, folks, is that I've taken a look at our phone system. Well, actually, our phone system's taken a look at me. We've had a lot of issues with our current phone system from, every time it rains, we lose a fax line to, long distance, we can't dial out, phones crackle. We've got a very antiquated phone system. And the majority of it was here when I came here. And I've been here since the ARC, it seems like.
Which one?
Yeah.
And our McKell Middle School, we did have a phone upgrade about, I don't know, it's probably been a few years ago now, and McKell Middle's phone system didn't get upgraded in that upgrade for one reason or the other. And our current system is just not meeting our needs anymore. It's very old and it's falling apart. It's also not expandable, and it's expensive. Now, up until a couple of years ago, the federal government and their E-rate program paid for 90% of our phone system. That has gone away. So all of our phone costs are incurred by us locally now. And one of the issues is that we have 3 PRI lines that are supporting our current on-premise voice over IP system, and we're paying about $1,200 a month for those, plus all the copper lines we've got and all the Centrex lines that Windstream doesn't even know what they do anymore, but they're saying if I cancel them, the phones may not work.
What's a PRI line?
It's a T1
Yeah, I
line,
need
it's a
to
data
know.
line that can handle up to 48 calls per
Okay, all
line.
right. Okay.
And again, our handsets, most of our handsets are at least 20 years old. So what I'm looking at is a new phone system. It's called a hosted Voip system, and that's a voice over internet protocol. The state provides us a 500 meg line into the district that we use for our data connections. We're currently using about 300 meg of that line. So we've got about 200 meg that's not being used for anything. So the new hosted voice over IP system will use that current data line that the state is paying for. So we won't need those 3 PRI lines anymore. We won't need a lot of our copper lines. We definitely won't need the Centrex lines. So what I did was I looked at 3 companies for a proposal. Windstream was one of them, a company called Integration Partners, and a company called LogMeIn. Integration Partners got a terrible review from other people, in different districts in the state. Windstream was incredibly high on their price. And LogMeIn, I think you guys have a proposal from LogMeIn that's got some of the prices. And it even surprised me of what the new technology would afford us in a phone system. The system is very reliable. They've got about 10 locations across the country that they concurrently mirror as hosts. So if one of them goes down, nobody even knows about it. It just swaps over to the others. It's secure. No one can listen in on your phone calls because as soon as it leaves that phone, it's converted to ones and zeros. It's data. And then it's reconverted on the other end to voice.
And going
through our data line. It uses 128-bit encryption, so there's really no way that anybody can listen in on a phone call. It's got a ton of features that we don't have right now. One of the ones that I'm excited about is for every phone that we have, we will get a license, and it will cover the physical phone, a soft phone that you can load on your computer, and a soft phone that's an app that you can load on your phone. So if Superintendent Moracey is in Lexington at a meeting and someone dials her extension, her cell phone will ring. Don't know if you want that or not, but I mean, that's an option. And I think for, let's say, the principals at the high school, and we can turn these things off and on, we can use them wherever we want and not use them if we don't. But let's say a principal at the high school is away from his desk, you know, and in the high school, cell service is not great, and that's an over-exaggeration. But he could have his cell phone on him connected to the Wi-Fi, and if someone from, if Daniel Gullett from McKell Elementary wanted to talk to Jason, he just dials his 4-digit extension number. His physical phone in his office will ring, his computer will ring if he's got the soft phone loaded on his computer, and his cell phone will ring if he's got a cell phone.
So it's not a separate license for each
Correct.
cell phone?
Correct. So that's just, you know, one of the examples of the features, and I could stand here for 2 hours and tell you some of the features that this system has. And
I've been up since 3:30 this morning.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I'm just saying. So I've been up
She
since
doesn't want you to talk for 2 hours. She's been up since 3:30.
I was going to put up on my slideshow one of 630, but I didn't want to. No.
I'm on the struggle bus, Tony.
But it's got a lot of features that we'll be able to take advantage of. It also comes with all new hardware. We get all new handsets, and that, if we went to buy them, is about $85,000. It's scalable. We can grow with it. We can do. It'll interface with well, the functionality there. It'll interface with the base system. We can use it for access control. There's all kinds of stuff we can do with it because it's an open software program. And if Rebecca will go to the next slide, the one that you guys will probably be mostly interested in. It's going to save us about $47,000 a year. And that's getting all new phones, that's getting the licenses for the soft phones, and you know, with all the features and functionality that we're getting, it's going to save us about $48,000. Now, when we're also looking at moving some of our, that's us keeping some copper lines at the schools for things like fire alarm, security, elevators. And we've got a proof of concept model going on at McKell Elementary right now for the fire alarm. So when I can get the fire alarms moved over to Ethernet and find a way to do the 2 elevators, we'll save an additional $10,080 a year. So we'll be at about $58,000 a year in savings if we move to this hosted Voip system.
Are we buying it from Windstream?
No, I'm sorry. This is coming, the proposal is from a company called Log Me In.
Yeah.
It's a global company. They're ahead of the game, almost, you know, everybody else. I've contacted a couple of districts. Davis County just put a system in, a Log Me In system. Davis County is very happy with them.
Have you got a expense there for login?
That's what.
You got another slide?
This is the
No,
login.
That's his
That is
login.
it.
I know what you're at. Well, I'm not gonna speak for you, Carl,
It's right
but
here.
will you, I think that's what our annual cost is right now.
Yeah.
Was that what Windstream was gonna charge, 89,000?
Currently, we're paying Windstream $124,000.
Right.
But $35,800 of it is our data lines. So I subtracted our data lines out of what we pay Windstream totally, because we're going to have to keep those data lines.
But what was Windstream's cost? I'm talking about their
Their proposal?
Yes.
Oh, Gee, it was like 3 times
Okay.
what this one was. It wasn't even close. I can get those numbers for you if you want them.
No, I
No, we went through it the other day when I was down here, I don't
Yeah.
doubt what you're saying, I was getting confused there, because it said current annual windstream cost, and then we're down to $47,000 savings, so.
Well, what's gonna happen,
And a little
We're gonna-
while,
we're
it
gonna-
ended up, did it?
we're still gonna be paying for our data lines from Windstream.
Okay.
But when this is all said and done, and I get the Ethernet system for our fire alarm, we won't be paying Windstream anything other than our data lines. And one of the things I wanna do is go to all these schools, and I don't know if you've seen the high school or not, but it's a rat's nest of wires where for the last 45 years, people have added, subtracted, moved, whatever at the high school, and that's just gonna be, we can tear all of that out because we'll not have any phone lines from Windstream.
So how does that work? This is internet-based, I'm assuming.
It is.
So how does that work that we have such bad internet? If the internet goes down, do we not have phone service?
That's correct.
Does that scare you a little?
Well, it would have, but, you know, and there is a way to put in a backup system on this. However, we're up, I know of one time in the last year that we were down for more than 6 hours.
So our internet can handle a whole phone system
Oh, yeah.
and, all the computers that we
We've got a
have.
we've got a five, usually 100 of
I'll
it.
go 200 extra.
How much of this would that 200, how much would it?
35, 40.
35.
Okay, all right.
And as
And I
far-
still have a landline, because I'm always worried that my internet's gonna go out.
Right.
Or my
Well,
cell
here-
service is gonna go out or something.
Here's my thoughts on that, is that if somebody, a backhoe digs through a fiber optic line and more hit,
Yeah,
and our internet goes down, what percentage of our teachers do you think have cell phones?
but.
I'm guessing
How good are those in the
99.
high school?
Yeah, but how good are those in the hospital? We hear that
That's
all the
what-
time about how it's such a dead space around here.
Yes.
Okay.
Verizon.
Which is,
Verizon works.
Mr. Collier was gonna save the day.
Verizon works.
Verizon does.
Yeah, AT&T.
AT&T does not.
Okay.
AT&T does not. Now, but if it's an
You have a
emergency,
sponsorship from
how
Verizon.
No, I
difficult is
need
it for
one.
someone to sit outside and make a phone?
Could be very difficult.
Okay?
And that's what my thoughts would be, I agree that this is what that we should go to something a whole lot more cheaper than anything Windstream does. But, is it possible, and even maybe we could use the safe schools money, but, are we hardlined in with the sheriff's department? A dedicated,
Hardline?
a dedicated hardline?
Yes, sir.
No,
No, that's correct. No, we're not.
What is the possibility of doing something like that?
A hard line into the sheriff's office, that would take someone like Windstream or somebody to provide us a line to do that. We are currently online with the
Right.
sheriff's department. They currently can monitor,
Oh,
our cameras.
Correct.
Right, but we do not have a physical hard line going to the sheriff's department.
My issue, and I do think that this would be an extremely rare circumstance. It would be, a bunch of bad things happening all at once. Internet go out, fire, can't get out of the building, just a whole bunch of different things. But I worry about all of our eggs being in a basket centered on the internet. I would like some other way, and granted, I know we do have a cell phone, but, if we can, you've got certain lines open. I know they're not hard lines, but.
Well, and to your point, if we do this, we've got $48,000 a year that we could, investigate a hard line to the, sheriff's department, or putting in, we can do something similar to what we've got now of a server at every school that would allow us, that if a fiber line got cut in between the schools, they couldn't get out, but they go from school to school, if a fiber line got cut in Moorhead or something. And right now, these lines, these 10,000, the phone lines that we're keeping for now, one of the things that they do as well as fire alarm, we also have them doing dual duty as fax lines. We also have them doing triple duty as a 911 line. So if anybody in the schools right now dials 911, it goes out over that copper line.
Right.
Now, the thing that, the features, I promise I won't take 2 hours. One of the features is that right now, if someone at Graysbridge from a classroom dials 911, the 911 and the sheriff's department know that somebody from Graysbridge somewhere called 911.
Right.
The new system, if a teacher in room 102 dials 911 from Graysbridge, they know that it came from room 102.
Right.
Which is fair.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. If you got everything running on that, you're gonna have fire alarms and everything?
Okay.
Your internet goes down, whatever.
Okay. With the fire alarm, by Underwriter Laboratories rules and by the state's laws that says you can't occupy a building without, fire, you have to have 2 methods of contacting your 911 or your security company that's monitoring it. And that's why that $10,000 number is so high. We've got 2 lines going into every building, 3 lines going into the high school and the middle school because they've got an elevator. But we've got 2 copper lines going into every building because of the fire alarm. If one line is dead, it uses the other line. On the Ethernet side of that, what we're experimenting with at McCall Elementary right now is Ethernet is the primary. The secondary is a device called a cradle point that uses cellular as the backup to the Ethernet in case the Ethernet line is down. In case the backhoe cuts through the fiber line in Moorhead, our internet goes down, there's a fire at McCall Elementary, it tries to notify out over the Ethernet line, it's dead, it uses the cellular line as the backup.
I mean, I don't know whether it would take a line, and that's what you were saying, you've got 2 lines running in with the exception of high school, and one, did you say one of the middle schools? They have 3? The high school?
The high school and Wortland Middle School has
Okay.
3 because of the elevator.
Alright, so 2 schools you can do away with 2, because your primary is gonna be your Ethernet, your backup could be a hard, but the rest of the schools you could cut down to 1, you would save money that way. At the very least, even if you eliminated it all, if the internet was to go down, if something, then, there needs to be, it's like a welfare check or something, I just don't, and I'm not fooey, I don't trust something not to happen with the internet, and that's what you said about the fire department, or the, UL requires you to have a backup.
And that was my thought process with the schools and, 99.9% of our staff having a cell phone. I didn't think, as a cell phone as a backup, because, high school, we have decent cell service at Argolite, the 2 McKells, Wortland Middle, and some of the interior areas, AT&T doesn't work. Grays Branch gets decent service depending upon what part of the building you're in, but the high school does not. Now, one of the things that I did, that I've done along with this, I've got a proof of concept model here at the board office. I put a cellular booster in. As a matter of fact, over the weekend, I put a second antenna down here at this end of the hall. And at this end of the hall, we went from 1 bar to 4 bars.
Yeah, I'm up to 3 now.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, and you probably didn't have that last time you met.
Oh, you can't see my face.
What worries me in a panic situation is, it's happened before, cell phone towers get overloaded. When you're working with one tower, they get overloaded, you're right, 99.9% of teachers have a phone, so do 99.9% of children in that high school. A panic situation happens, all, You know, I worry about a phone, you know, it could happen with phone lines, except only one person can talk on that phone at a time, you know, or one person dial out. So, I just think,
Now, also to that point, that, and this isn't for the students or the staff, but all of the district provided cell phones are on what's called FirstNet. Are you familiar?
yeah, well, she has explained it to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
It will take priority.
it will.
Yeah.
And I take your point.
Yeah.
You know, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I'll drop it.
Any other questions? Tony's time's up, no, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Oh, I've still got 30 more slides. No.
Thank you,
I was
Tony.
just like-
I do appreciate
You're welcome.
that.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you so
Tony,
much.
You're
appreciate it.
welcome.
Now, Tony, if you wanna stay,
I'll see you.
it's all thrilling.
Thanks for the invite.
Anytime. Okay, so delegations,
No delegation.
thank you.
Anything on Facebook?
Nope.
Oh, I always forget about
That's on
something
the
face.
Facebook.
Next up, acknowledgement of personnel actions. You don't have to approve that. Approval of consent items. Can I get a motion for consent agenda? Mr. Royster, second.
Second.
Anybody want to pull anything out of that? Tracy, can I ask you a quick question? I think I've asked this before, because I was looking at all the trips for the middle school basketball.
Yeah. Do they
Some
need to do
people
that?
put those in, some people don't.
It's because, I actually had that question myself. The reason why a lot of them put them in is because it's not always going to be a bus for the game. If they can save money, they just have the parents take them, so then the only time they put in a request is when they're going to have a bus for the game. So if they are going to have the parents drive them there, then they don't put in a request. So that's what it's for.
Do they have to, because we know there's a schedule?
They do, just so that you understand the expenditure, the cost that's gonna happen because they're taking a bus. So they have to put something in, because it's a paper trail so that we know to charge that particular booster club or event.
Okay, does everybody do it?
If they want to do, it's part of the procedure, so they get a bus.
I don't ever feel like we have high school football games putting one in. Do you? Or boys basketball?
Those are all part of the athletic,
Yeah, that's part of that.
club.
Okay, so that's why we don't have, okay,
The board pays for those, yeah.
okay, all right. Makes sense. Okay, all those in favor? Well, where did you come from?
I've been here.
Aye, 5-0.
Yeah.
I knew it. I knew you did. I've read both mine. School calendar.
Did we forget about Miss Berry?
No, we have to get one down.
It's all on that.
There's
We're
more,
not there
to
yet.
work our way down.
But wait,
We
there's
gotta
more.
do a second.
Wait, there's more, yeah.
That's on the list.
Okay, please consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve the school calendar for the 21-22 school year.
Motion.
I'll second that. Mr. Collier, it looks like we went with starting school.
Calendar.
When?
Proposal 2 is the one I believe that,
I'm recommending proposal 2. It starts on the 18th, I believe, is what you
Okay.
got there. And there's a twofold reason for that. My true thought on that is, first, as we are coming back from this pandemic, anything that happens over the summer, that'll give us time to prepare. But then my second thought is, we are planning on doing some jump start and teaching before school even starts. So I feel that families would be more interested in sending their children the first and second week for jump start, ESS, tutoring, remediation. That's part of our program to get kids back on track prior to school starting with the kids who are actually going to be enrolling in Greenup County schools next year. I think we're gonna get more bang for our buck that way. So the goal is those first 2 weeks we would be doing more remediation for kids, so they would technically be in school, but then everybody would start on the 18th.
Thank you.
And we have some discussion going on, and that's another reason why we need to do a working session. I just want to talk to you about with the CARES funding that we did reach, that one of the goals would be to have that prior to school starts jump start program to get kids ready for school.
All right. Anybody have any questions? No questions? All those in favor? Aye. agenda. So, first up, please consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracey to approve the GCHS varsity cheerleading team to Florida for competition on 4/21 to 4/27 as submitted. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Cotton, second.
Second.
Mr. Warnick. Questions? We have a lot of questions, I do believe, Ms. Berry.
Well, that's what I'm here for.
I know.
Yes.
Okay, so, probably my first question is, do you need an answer tonight?
Okay.
Do you need an answer tonight?
Oh, no, I don't need an answer tonight.
Okay.
The open registration starts on the 28th of this month. So I would like to know within, a week or two, what you all feel like. I also know that you all are under a hard time right now deciding what to do. But I do want to say, as a person like Carl is, that's been around here for a long time, you see things change quickly. I would hate to tell someone in January that they're not gonna be able to do something the end of April. That's hard for people, young people especially, to understand. I like to give them the opportunity, but should something drastic come up, of course, you understand that things can change. So I'd like for y'all to keep that in mind when you're deciding what to do. Our students have had a lot of disappointments since the end of last year, leading up through now, and it's a sad way to finish your junior year through your senior year with being out so many activities that you consider part of your school career. So I'd like to keep that in mind. Now, what's your next question?
Candy?
Yeah.
You go ahead. No, you're fine.
Did, you said registration started, open registration?
28th.
The 28th. When is the final date to do the registration?
I think you have up until, you know what, I can't say exactly, I think around the 15th of February.
15th.
But, the longer you wait, the less opportunity you have of keeping your group together
Right.
for housing. So the earlier you get in, of course, the more, you're gonna have that opportunity. I did talk with the president of the competition by text today, and she anticipates that there'll be about a 60 to 70% turnout from what it has been in the past.
Right.
So she said we will also, only the people registered from our group will be watching our kids, compete, and then we will all leave, and then the next group will come in. So that limits any activity that you have in the facility at Disney of coming in contact with an outside group. But while we have fundraised this year, we have not done a lot of school activities like dances, cheer camps and all that stuff. So our money isn't as high as it needs to be, so we would really need to know so we could do a little more fundraising to make that, a more positive experience for the parents. But I also will say that I've discussed it with the parents and Ms. Moracey, and the parents will bring their kids to me and then drop them off to me by Thursday evening at 6 o'clock. And then they'll house in rooms as a squad with me as their advisor. And once we're finished on Monday, they will be given back to their parents to leave. So some parents are driving because they don't want to fly, and then some are flying from local airports, and some, wherever they get the best rate. So that saves all big costs for us.
What, I'm sure you're gonna get,
That's okay.
you said earlier that, you don't wanna tell them no now, when things could change in April, and
Yeah.
part of,
Will not allow them to cancel.
well, and that brings up another point, but, if in the off chance for whatever reason, you all are not going to be able to go,
Right.
you know, is there insurance you all can buy? Is there other things
I'm
that,
sure there is travel insurance we can buy, but I have talked to them about that. Up till a certain amount, and I think it's about a month before the competition, we can get a refund on all of our rooms, except for $100 registration fee on everybody.
yeah,
So that's a pretty good
but
savings.
that's only, now everything from a month in, that goes way down.
Right.
Yeah. What about, you know, them, you said, you know, while they're gonna be with you, you know, in the hotel, are they gonna be able to go to Disney World, or are they gonna be able to, you know, do
We
that?
have to go as a group. This year for Disney, you have to fill out paperwork on when you want to use your tickets. So you are given a form and it's attached to your badge you have. And if you go up and they scan your badge and you're not scheduled to come in that day, you can't come in. So they won't be able to go on their own. We will have a schedule ahead on the day we want to go or the days we want to go, because you have 3 days you can go. We don't normally go that many because we're too busy, you know, doing other things. But we will know exactly when we're going. We'll go together. We'll take the Disney buses, you know, together to that theme park.
And what about testing?
Well, they test you as you come in. Well, they don't test you, excuse me. They use their temperature gauge. And if anybody has 100.4 or something, said, then you're not admitted in.
Is that the only time?
For Disney,
Where
Yeah.
you're going?
every time you go to a Disney facility, you're checked.
Every time you go through a gate.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. As far as when we're at the hotel, it would be my responsibility to check them each morning, their temperatures, and make sure they're okay. I mean, that would be at the extent that I would be able to, you know, tell. I do know Brandy Thompson, Brandy Hunt will be with us, and she's a school nurse. So, you know, she is obligated to take care of the students, you know, and has told me she'd be glad to assist me in how
How many of you will be flying
I'm not sure.
roughly?
Approximately, I have no idea.
Okay,
Me personally, I'm thinking about driving.
okay.
And I've had some other people tell me they were. I do know I have 2 sets of parents who have kids that are on the Pride teams over here. And they already have their flight reservations and are gonna add their daughters to that. So everybody's just kinda doing their own thing, which I really think with this type of pandemic that's gone on, parents should get to decide if they wanna put their kid on a plane in a confined area or drive them there, so.
So as far as driving down, the parent just gonna have their child in there or their family?
I would think so, yes.
What if a parent can't go?
Well, then plans need to be made, you know, by that parent through me on who would, you know, how they get there. I'm also not requiring they participate, and it will not affect them being.
Have you had anybody say that they're not comfortable?
I have asked, and so far, no. I've told them to privately message me if they feel uneasy about their child going. And all I've had is more positive. I've had no negative about it.
One thing I know, a standard we put in place at the beginning of all this, and I'm assuming would hold to that standard, is that we're not letting kids room together.
Okay.
Because we had some other teams at the beginning of this that said, we need to go here, and we're like, okay, but you can't room together. So, to me, I think, to be fair, we need to consider that.
Okay, well, I had discussed the kids staying with their parents, but I was told we couldn't do that if we used, because of Red Book.
Right.
So it would be, the entire trip would be all paid by the parent if in that case.
Right.
And I think that's asking too much. I would just assume this be the first year in 45 years that we haven't gone than to put that kind of financial burden on parents.
Weren't most of them gonna have room anyway, though?
No. Some of them won't go if they have to spend that big bucks.
How
I've got some-
many do you think wouldn't, how many parents do you think aren't going?
Aren't going?
Yeah.
None. I think they're all going.
The difference is you pay for how many people's in your room.
Right,
Yeah.
I understand that,
And it's a large amount for every person that's in the room.
right.
So
So if you're paying
Usually the
per
girls-
amount,
usually
Sorry,
girls
so they
might
pay for that
pay their
child's
own
rent.
way through fundraising.
so can Red Book pay for that child's room? Can
It
there,
would just be that
I was
child.
told no. If the
It won't be
kids,
broken down that way.
no, I was told the kids had, if they stayed in the room with their parents, the
Are they
money,
allowed to have
could
a
not be
money
allowed to do
reimbursement
that.
would go towards that room?
You're talking about a lot more money if you're
Because
doing
the bill
an
would be on
individual
their parents,
family
it would
be
versus a
yes.
room of 4
Them, and
girls.
that's who would have to
Yes.
pay.
That would be that'd be a violation.
Right.
And it's not an itemized bill. I mean, it may, even if it is itemized, you can't pick out one section.
No,
and
you
say,
can't.
"We'll
So
pay
she's
for
not
the
allowed to
Red Book."
give like, okay, because I know it will cost this much money for a cheerleader to be in a room, this is how much money you get to put towards your room with your daughter.
Yeah, that's what I thought we could do, but the lady that handles our stuff, come back to me and said, Candy, that's a violation of Red Book, we can't do that.
is that something we can call about to KHSAA and just ask?
We could ask Ron, the
Red Book.
guy who wrote the Red Book.
Yeah.
And just see, because, I mean, it is a pandemic.
Yeah.
I
mean,
know there
and there's
are
a lot
no-
of stuff that's been thrown out the door.
Yeah, there are no benefits that can be, that a parent can't have a benefit. But if you're talking about the
You
child,
can't pay
it would
out.
be a very small amount is what I'm thinking. If you're
It's
gonna,
$743
for a room.
for a room for the 4
That's
days.
for one, that's for the kid.
That's for one kid.
Yeah, so if
for-
you're talking about if that's an allowed amount, if he says yes, we can allow that amount, then
Yeah.
you're talking about
Well,
the-
sure,
the
I can-
parent,
sure.
that's gonna be probably 3 times as much still for
And
the
that's
parent.
easier
for
on
one
me.
room.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they're with their parents, they're their responsibility as well.
Right.
Candy, did you say that was per room or per?
Per person,
Per person, so 4 to a room,
it's $742 or something like that.
4?
Times 4, but that's for 4 nights, all your 3 Disney passes, you're entering into, Wide World of Sports 3 days, and,
Okay.
So it's a package.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not sure how you.
excuse me,
Is your food too?
Yeah.
2 meals.
They could bring down and tell them what their Red Book.
A day, 2,
No.
no, just
just
one, 2
two.
meals, just 2 meals, okay.
And
Ration that
if,
kids.
if you only have 3 in your room, that price goes up per person. Or if you have 2 in your room, it goes up per person.
Right,
Mhm.
right.
I have tried to talk my kids out of wanting to go. I'll just be real honest. I've told them, you know, there's a lot of other things we could do, you know, to make their year pleasant and enjoyable. And they are just heartbroken when I start bringing that up. I am a firm believer of giving people hope and giving people something to look forward to, and be positive about. And that's the only reason I come to you guys and ask that you consider letting them actually have a chance.
How does the virtual work?
The virtual, you will be doing a login thing, and you hold it up to the camera at a specific time, and there's a little, whatever you call it, on the corner, you know.
Cube
what.
code.
Yes, and they scan that, and you do it right then, and it's in your gym. And then they take from all over the United States, and they score you.
So there's a virtual option, I didn't realize there was a virtual option.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a virtual
Yeah.
option. Okay,
That's a possibility.
okay.
What does that
Tracy,
Excuse me?
What does that go?
What does it cost?
Or is that an alternative to them not having it?
Yes. No, that's an alternative if you all don't allow us to go.
Okay, so you could go virtually in your own gym and do your stunts and everything else, and they'll watch you on TV.
Yes.
I mean, on your computer,
Yes,
and then they'll grade you out and do what needs to
Yes.
be done.
yes. And again, that's an option if you have to, but that's like, do you want to go, and this is no slam, if you had an opportunity to play at UK, and yet you had an opportunity to go to KCU and play, which one would you rather do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're getting the opportunity to compete, but the experience isn't there.
Yes.
Tracy, can you read what you got earlier?
Yeah, I just got this right before,
The
well,
meeting.
we did get right. You would ask me after I lose it.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so I sent a question because at one point I was under the understanding that KHSA had stopped any travel out of state. They have relinquished that. They're asking us not to send anybody out of state to a state that has a travel advisory at the time. So my biggest concern is that you guys paying the money and being ready to roll, and then
I
we're
understand,
told,
I understand, that's
yeah,
my concern too, and that's what I'm saying. It's a consensus among the parents that opportunity, that chance of, and the small chance not, is worth it. You know, you all stop and think of your own kids, what would you want? Would you want them to have that chance? Or, it's just up to you guys. I too called KHSAA and asked about it, and they said they recommend against travel to, high, states, but it is entirely up to the local boards.
What are other local schools doing?
I asked today, I found out, I thought you all might ask that.
Let's see. Isn't there a mandatory quarantine with that?
Graves County, Madison Central, Pikeville, Bullitt County, Madison Central, Pulaski County, and Corbin, and Graves County are all going. I'm sure you know some of those schools. So I
okay,
asked today.
so our regional schools are not going though, correct? Like,
The only regional school that went last year was Russell, and it's my understanding they're not going this year.
okay.
I don't know that, but that was my understanding, but no other local schools from here went to Russell.
My understanding, Jimmy, is none of our, let's say our 5-co area, am I correct, Tracy?
Mhm.
They're not approving any trips.
That would go for any event, whether it be cheerleading or
Yeah, baseball, softball,
yeah,
any of those.
dance team was not allowed to go, some different things
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on in the other districts.
So I know y'all have a hard decision.
It is, it's very, I
And
mean,
you do, and I know that.
yeah,
I mean, I'm not pulling
Yeah.
any punches, I want kids to get to do it, but if they don't, we'll roll with it and do as good as we can with it, and I'll try to console them, but I would like them to have the opportunity and let their parents decide if they want them to participate. Again, like I said, it would not affect them as far as I'm concerned, or the school's concerned, with being a squad member, but in asking so far, there's been no one said they didn't want to.
Lance brought up as he called it, the leper community, that if something happens,
They
that
have,
they get sick.
yeah.
So do parents realize that they're gonna have to fork out and stay 10 extra days till they can get their child out of quarantine?
I sent them the thing that I got today.
Okay, because that talk about a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and they say, telling you that you're required to stay within that area, yes. You don't have to stay at Disney, but you have to stay in that county, at a hotel.
How are they enforcing that? Do you-
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're probably not. They're probably not.
Let's just be honest.
I know, I just got a paper.
They probably just send you a link for it.
He said, I don't know, I'm getting in my car and I'm going home.
Yeah, that's what I said, when I read it and I talked to some of the other coaches, I said, if I got it, or I've got a kid that's got it, we're going home. But,
I mean, it'd be like your
I
house
do.
quarantine, I would think.
Yeah, you can't fly.
I do have concerns, with, and all joking aside, kind of what you said right there, and I don't think you're the only one who thinks this. We were all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
That if I had it, my butt would be back in the car on the
Yeah.
way back too.
Yeah.
However, I do worry about somebody contracting something and, bringing it back. It can happen anywhere. I'm not just saying I don't think it's just Florida. I don't think it's Disney World. I think the mall. I think
I agree.
BW3s in Portsmouth. Anything.
Yeah.
But we've got a group of people going.
Yes.
And a group of people coming back.
Yes.
And of course, there's nothing mandatory or anything like that, but I would hope that you would stress, if we are able to come to, we come up with something here, that the parents need to be good leaders of their community, good representatives of Greenup County, and, if they are sick, they need to report that,
Right.
and they need to be tested.
Cole, one thing I did tell the parents too, that it could be that when they come home, you guys might have put in place that they have to quarantine at home for 10 days or whatever.
Well, I think those are two separate questions. One question is, are they gonna be allowed to go?
Correct.
Another separate question is, what are the rules
Right.
to govern their return to school when they get back?
I think you're right.
Those are two separate things.
Right. So you guys just decide, I'd be glad to stay and talk as
And
long
our
as you
answer
want.
now might be different than it might be in April.
Well,
If something
How
drastically
many,
changed.
you got about 20 people on your squad?
I have 20.
How many of those, you all went last year?
Yes.
How many of those went last year? Those 20? I know you had some.
8.
No, you had some graduating.
8.
They're probably seniors again
Yes.
this year.
I had 5 seniors, and then I had, about 7 kids that either went back to their old schools or something like that.
Oh.
Yeah. 2 girls were from Ohio, and they went back to Ohio. Not everybody agrees with my coaching and who I pick as the ones that should be doing stuff,
Well, I
so.
can't believe that.
Some people, went ahead and went back to the different schools.
So the juniors that you had last year got to go? That are
Yes,
seniors this year?
yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
What timeline, if we put it off and said, we'll see what happens in another month or
Uh-huh.
2 months or whatever, when could you change from going to going virtual?
I don't know, but I could ask.
Is it a,
If it's open and a possibility, then what I'm gonna do is go on and pay $100 person registration fee and get them registered. And then we can get a refund, within like the end of February, 1st of March, you get your money back. But if,
when is that date that you can get your money back?
I think it's like 1st of March, end of
1st of
February, 1st of March.
So if this got tabled, how early, what's the latest we can tell you?
Well, all I can tell you for sure is January the 28th is the open registration
Well,
day.
that's this week,
Yeah, that's this week.
Wednesday or Thursday. And between now and the 15th of February, I think you said.
Yes, that's when I'm
I'm
guesstimating.
sorry, I must have missed that, I'm sorry.
Yes.
But I think she's also asking if,
When is the very latest? I
Yes.
think you can register up until,
I mean,
April, but will you get housing together like you want?
right, but if you went ahead and registered them now, when would you need to know for sure before?
We have to find out about.
So it'd be
If
stuck.
if we said
We
no?
have to find out about
Uh,
the process.
I think you have up to a month before the competition.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're talking the end of March.
was talking.
Yeah.
But you asked
So that is not an option for you all for the kids to stay with their parent.
Well, that's up to you all, whatever that red book says.
No, I'm saying if we're not letting people stay, like, 4 students stay
Gotcha.
together,
Gotcha.
is that just not an option for you all? If that's something we can come up with that, and I'm not saying we know if we can even put the money to it, but
Yeah.
I'm just going off of what we've done in the past.
In the past.
That
We have to stick with that rule.
Okay,
We have to
well,
do.
I understand that. You
Yeah.
can't make exclusions,
Then you just kind of start having it
Right.
go with every.
I mean, a possibility is 3 students with an adult. I mean, that's, that's something you ought to consider.
No,
No?
no, we
No.
can't consider, no, it'd have to be, they'd be with their
Parent.
own parent, with their own family unit.
Okay, okay,
Just like they were here.
right.
Yeah.
Does that make
So,
sense?
I mean, that goes right back to, you said you thought all parents were going,
I think they are, yes.
so that would work if you're allowed to do that.
Yes, that would work, and as long as they don't mind footing the whole bill, that's fine.
I mean, that might be,
But then some of them say, well, gee, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, do the parents ever pay for it when the child's going anyway?
No,
You manage all your own?
yes. We have an extremely supportive community.
Yeah, I know you do.
I'm not kidding. I've been fascinated over the last 40-some years. They take a lot of pride in the kids and they really support them.
Yeah, okay.
Can I, as a board, or as a member, I'd like to say, I've heard it said a couple times, this is what we did in the past, this is what, precedent always, is important. However, it's very fluid, changing constantly thing that we're in right now. And we're deciding on something that's gonna happen in April that we started this school year with 15 different calendars. We changed it constantly. So something's always changing. And, so personally, my feeling is on it, I don't think that, just because we held at a different time and under different circumstances, different, I guess what I'm saying is that I'm not considering it an exception if we allow the cheerleaders to stay together. Is that Voip?
That's probably somebody supposed to call us up.
Well,
and
would, I see, I understand.
Yeah.
So, what say you on
Oh,
tabling
that's
this
okay, that would have been.
issue for this evening?
Please don't.
We need, I agree
I
with
think
you.
she wants an answer.
I think we've got a couple other things we're checking on here to be sure
Yeah,
of, and we need to see if we can get those cleared up.
Well, I know for a fact that we're fine if we can go and stay in housed in a squad rooms where I'm, over them.
Are parents not staying in that
They
same
are staying,
vicinity?
yes.
Are the parents, like our couples rooming together?
Yes.
Okay, so my husband and I might room with
Lance and
Colt
his
and
wife.
his wife.
Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah.
So,
That's more.
so this might be a problem for them, for the parent. It's gonna be, even if we're able to give the student their share through Red Book and get that approved, it still might be a financial burden for
And
the
just like your
family.
tables are lined up here.
I understand. That was what I wanted to
Yeah, like your
ask.
tables are lined up here, that's how their rooms with the parents are. They're all there around us.
Okay.
Some parents go and take the rest of
Anyway,
their kids, but they only have their own family in their own room anyway.
Yeah.
So we're leaving it up to them to make the reservations if they
For
were
the
with
parents,
somebody.
oh yeah, I can't do that. They
Yeah,
have
we
to
may
do their own.
not be able to manage if the
Yeah, I'm
student
not,
is,
yeah, I never do theirs.
yeah.
Okay, I understand. That's gonna be hard to manage that and to make sure.
you have a motion to
Can I
table. We have to do a motion to table.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to table it.
All in favor?
So when though?
Okay, so until we can get some of these questions answered, I think that's our safest bet, though.
January
It's not a-
28th is opening day,
Yes, sir.
and you need it by February 15th.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I understand
Well, you
again.
said the first of March.
No, that's
No.
something different. That's to
That's
get
something
the
different.
refund and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that, Kenny, if you would, would you get some hard numbers and facts, and that personally, what I would like is something, you mentioned about what UCA was gonna do. I wanna know what you're all, as a squad, what your protocol is gonna be. Number one, for, minimizing contact with other outside groups. Number two, if, someone does come down with symptoms, what are you all gonna do as a squad? Number three, in the event that, someone does contact, does end up with it, that the parents know that, they may be required to stay down there for,
Yeah,
extra.
right. Sure, I'll be glad to put that in writing, and I will even try to get something from UCA on their letterhead showing these specific dates. Whether I'll get a response, I don't know, but yeah.
Well, we may have a student that comes back from there and is fine and gets back there for 3 or 4 days and then has it.
Yeah.
We also have to consider that, or we gonna do, if they come back and one of us comes back.
Well, I do know it's.
3 or 4 days later, they do have it, then we got quarantine all of them.
This year is highly different in the
Yes,
fact
it very
that
much is. You
they're
know what I'm saying?
limiting our contact with other teams as much as possible.
Okay.
Like, we're only allowed to schedule, like Lynch, the football field, they're only allowed to have like 5 teams out on the football field at once, and whereas before you might have 25 out there shoulder to shoulder, so. They put a lot of things in place, but nothing's 100%, but nothing in life's 100%.
Right.
Well, and then, we still got the,
And in April,
still
they
got the
might be
unknowns
great.
of this new strain, that how, what it's gonna do and all that kind of stuff too. That's what,
The world is uncertain, guys, but, I don't wanna live the rest of my life in fear. I'll just be safe as possible and go from there. Have a good life.
That's right.
That's true.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Yes,
and
thank
answering
you.
all the
Thanks, guys.
questions.
I know you haven't
She
felt well.
has not
Thank you
felt
for coming.
well.
Good.
Thank you.
Yep.
And we do appreciate you.
I think I did too. I did too. Yeah, they said I was probably patient 0.
Yep.
Oh,
No, I
no.
had it before.
Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Drive safe.
All right. Next up, approval of ARC 504, Chairperson Heather Bond, MES Assistant Principal. Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracy to approve MES Assistant Principal Heather Bond as ARC 504 Chairperson for the 2020-2021 school year as submitted. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I'll make a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Could you ask her to maybe come to the meeting next month, just so we can meet her?
I'm almost ready to
Sure.
go.
Yeah. I just think it's nice if they know who we are and we know who
I was
they
gonna say,
are.
I don't feel like saying that. I don't feel like voting yes. I don't know her. I have no,
Right.
why is she being, is she being asked to do this because somebody else would?
No, she's the new assistant principal at McHale
I know
Elementary.
that, but I mean, we've never met her.
Oh, it's part of procedure, it's part of her job duties to do it.
Does it be
Yes,
be over the
Yes.
ARC?
yes.
I didn't know that. Hello? Okay.
And I'll ask her to pull her mask, so we can see what she looks like.
Well, no, that's just,
Sounds
I just
vulgar.
think somebody.
It does, send us a picture.
I just
felt bad
think
She does stuff online all the time.
well, she's not on ours.
That's
We
getting
don't see
worse.
her. I don't even know what she walked in. I didn't realize it was something that she's supposed to do, but she's so new.
I feel like she probably took over Shannon's position on this.
Yes, yes.
Where Shannon was
It's
assistant.
always the,
It's,
Okay.
you always have the
It's
principal
always
and the
principal.
assistant. You have both, because especially with a school that size, you don't know how many ARCs you may
Yeah,
have
I
in a
know that.
day, and you need people to be able to cover if someone's sick, so
Yeah,
you
I
like to
know.
have more than one in a building. So
Makes
Shannon was the person that previously held it, so it's part of her job duties as the new assistant.
chairman of that.
But in order to,
chairman of the ARC committee is an important
It
position.
is, and in order to
And
even be
so
on
put
this,
anybody in it.
in order for her to even be on this agenda, for us to even recommend it, she's already went through extensive training.
Oh, okay.
So Mrs. Latimer sat with her and did training with her prior to even recommending her.
Okay, you convinced me. I'm not even convinced.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, consider the recommendation of Superintendent Moracey to approve the 2021-2022 student accident policy renewal from Roberts Insurance at $63,542.60 a year. All those in favor?
Go up one.
What happened?
Yeah.
Oh, the draft budget. Sorry, I skipped.
It's okay, I was gonna come back to it. Just a-
What's this? Just a
So
discussion?
in January, we have to have an acknowledgement of draft budget. We
Okay.
know that there's really no
Nothing
hard
to do.
set numbers, we don't have title numbers. I did reach out to Che Ritter. Che is the KDE Division of District Support, and as of the day that I reached out to him on January 7th, our SEEK estimate is slated to be based on 2018-19 data, which is what this year's SEEK was based on as well. So we get to use our attendance for 18-19 just because last year was a bad year to base it off of, and this year is no better. So, and to his knowledge, that base at $4,000 per student is not changing. So with that
Information, our SEEK will remain unchanged for the next year. So that's what we'll start our tentative budget on, which is due in May.
They're gonna try to give us an extra $40.
as of right now, this is what we
Yeah.
know. So I don't know. I don't know. So our known expenditures, are the biggest one is we have received notification that CERS is increasing. So CERS is the pension that we pay on our classified staff. Last year, they allowed that to be stagnant, so we did not have an increase this year. Finance officers were really worried because there was some talk that they were actually gonna put this year's increase and next year's increase on next year. They did not do that. We only got 1 year of increase at 2.89%. So just a rough estimate, what that is gonna do is $140,000 CES line item increase that we know. That is at current salary. So, current revenue and expenditure standing, we are right on target with last year, December 31st, 2019. Taxes came in well. I was a little concerned about that with pandemic and job loss, that we haven't been affected, thankfully. And our spending is down, of course, from December of last year, namely in diesel fuel, sub costs,
Yeah.
utilities, a little bit.
As much as you would think, but so our expenditure are down. So that is where we stand as of today. Not a whole lot of information, but it's really all we have. So
All right. Thank you for that. So we don't have to approve any of that.
No.
So
nope, we
So-
can go into the accident.
let's go to the accident. Since I've already read that, can I get a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Cotton, second. Ms. Wellman. So, any questions on this? Something we do every year.
Yeah.
Same one.
It's actually a decrease of about $5,000. We
Yeah,
went
cheaper,
with
yeah.
a different company, the same agent,
How many?
but a different company.
How many claims have we had?
Well,
Cat?
very few. Very few this year. In a typical year, less than 10. We don't have a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
I've
I
always
mean-
said in the past, that's because I don't think a lot of people know about it,
Yeah.
especially with sports injuries,
Mhm.
that's not very well, and hopefully this athletic director will explain that to families,
Yeah.
that this is something that can help a little bit.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, and it does. It's not a lot, but it is a little bit. So
Yeah.
Does this play for the football knees that get injured?
just very little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But very little, $500.
Yeah, it'll pay
I mean,
essentially for your deductible.
Yeah, your copay.
Mhm. Yeah, but no, it doesn't pay for a whole surgery or anything like that. No.
If they don't have insurance, that's another problem.
Yes, it doesn't pay any more or less if you have insurance or if you don't. It is a secondary policy, but it doesn't pay more or less.
Well, I guess the next question is, then why do we have it?
I've asked that same question.
Yeah, I asked that same question and I've been told,
I guess you
I've been
have to-
warned
You have to
not to get rid of it. It's
Yeah.
just, a liability issue for the district if we don't. This puts the liability on this insurance policy as opposed to the liability on us, and for us to have to decide, are we gonna pay the deductibles, are we gonna double check and make sure everyone has their own insurance policy? This
If
kind
we're
of,
averaging 10, that's $500, and we have 10 of them, that's $5,000. Is that $5,000?
yeah, it's something we can certainly, this doesn't renew, they get it to me early, it's something we can discuss with Jimmy. I,
But then there might be that one time that it isn't.
Yeah,
it could cost us that.
It could cost us a lot of money.
Yeah, this just transfers all of the responsibility.
I see where you're going, but if they're only gonna pay so much, then
I thought it was a requirement.
I'm not aware of it being a requirement, but I know
No.
that it is,
not like it is.
it is something to cover your liability.
There's no,
Because if you have someone who
Yeah.
has a very tragic accident, this protects the district more so than it does the student.
mhm.
I thought we had I thought
Is
that was part of our other.
Anything different?
Playground falls, anything, yeah, it's not just sports, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like,
bus wreck.
bus
Yep.
wreck,
Mhm.
anything
Yep.
like
So
that.
what's the, limits?
The limits,
Uh-huh.
so it pays up to $1,000.
No.
There's not limits,
I mean, there's not a limit that they'll pay out?
yeah, $1,000.
Per incident?
Mhm.
Mhm.
What about per year? For all
Oh,
cumulative?
you know, I don't know the answer to that. So if a student gets hurt in football and gets hurt in basketball,
Wasn't it,
How tragic can, I mean,
I don't know.
I thought I read something more good.
I was thinking,
I was
doesn't
thinking
our
about millions or
liability
something.
insurance otherwise on the buildings and grounds and the
No.
vehicles and
well,
everything
you,
else?
no, it
Cover
would,
anything?
$1,000 per event. Is that what you're asking?
yeah, and then your insurance comes into
Yeah, because you're saying
play.
something far tragic, I mean, I don't get what you're saying
By
there.
having this insurance, they take care of all those other issues. If we didn't have the insurance, then we have to do all the negating about that.
But only up to $1,000.
You don't have
You
to do
didn't have the
anything, they
insurance,
take
it would
care of
be back
everything.
on.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. What'd you
They
say?
take care of everything, we don't have to do anything other than turn in the paper.
Turn in the paper. And then
Right,
there's.
but I mean,
Of course,
what,
the paper does.
I think what we're asking is that, you know, is this if somebody sues, or is this strictly medical bills, is this,
Medical.
so this is just for medical coverage then? If we do have a bus accident and heaven forbid, 10 kids get hurt, you know, it doesn't take long for, you know, hospital's gonna be $5,000.
Okay,
It's in
this
there.
says it's a 7.5 million catastrophic policy.
Yeah.
Plan B, Plan 3, 100% usual and customary with a $1,000 limit on physical therapy.
Yeah.
Then it says 63,542.60, I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah, that's the
500,000.
cost.
Is that the cost?
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes on to say,
And I can ask Joe to come to a board meeting.
10,000.
I'm sure he would be happy to do that and explain it.
I mean, it pays, you know, it pays different things for different,
Right.
But the most it pays is $1,000.
But then it's,
no.
No, I don't think so. I don't think that's right.
Well, that's what she just said.
yeah, that was,
Really?
Accidental death and dismemberment pays $10,000.
So you mean for an accident, $1,000? Like a
yeah,
certain
up
type-
to, and then it's secondary
To what your other insurance
because
is.
we require our athletes to have insurance.
The aggregate limit is
Alright.
500,000.
This pays $25,000 for deferred medical expenses, dental expenses. I guess if you lose your front teeth out there playing football or basketball, this should help take care of that. You've got bereavement on there too and counseling. felony assault and violent crimes. I think some of this is in our general liability and other insurance policy that we have overall, don't we? On
Yeah,
some of
but
those riders.
like that wouldn't pick up for a student who's traveling. Our general liability wouldn't pick that up. So for an automobile accident or something like that, that would be different.
When do we have to do this?
It's not until June. This is just they get it to us really early in the year.
Let's have the guy come and
Yeah,
explain it to us.
Yeah,
Yeah, he can do that.
Let's do
Alright.
that.
so we'll table any,
Motion on the table.
yeah, motion, second, all those in favor?
100% usual and customary with $1,000 limit. Oh, that's physical therapy, $63,000.
Okay, let's move on to.
I'm trying to think back of times we have used that. I remember one time somebody had a playground accident and broke a couple teeth.
Knock some teeth out.
And that policy picked up and paid some.
The deductible. Yeah.
We've had a couple other try to collect on it. Somebody said they were walking through the high school gravel pit and there was some construction going
Yes,
on.
I remember that.
And they claimed that something fell on them and hit them. And we were able to prove that nothing actually fell on them and that they weren't hurt.
I remember that.
But they tried to collect on it. Other than that, I don't remember any specific instances where it applied.
Yeah, there aren't very many.
So, you'll bring him.
But then I'm trying to play various scenarios in my head where it might apply that we would need it.
Right.
Yeah,
Those
but I guess what we need to know is what does it actually pay, I mean, cause she's saying it only pays up to $1,000.
Yeah, and
But then they're saying it pays, so I think having him come to the meeting will help us make a better decision on that.
right, and
We always
that's
had it
because
we always felt like we had to.
that's because it's covering the deductible because it is a secondary
The secondary.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then
Things
there's-
like what their insurance don't cover.
Right. Up to, and we've just never had a lot. Now, when I've inquired about it, I've been warned against
Yeah,
not having
You
it.
could not have it.
There's a
You might change your plan, but you
There
have to
was,
have it.
yeah.
There's an accidental death benefit in it,
Yeah.
and an accidental dismemberment.
I'll have Joe from Roberts come. He would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
Well, I'm guessing, to me, there's bound to be maybe some other policy that would benefit us better than this, if we're paying X number of dollars here. But, you know, maybe there's not, and maybe we
Or if it
don't
was even
need.
a primary plan.
need
I
this.
don't know what that would do to the price, but.
Just some investigation,
It's like, we can look online.
so,
Everybody come back with their own policy.
Royster.
Don't say that, my son's an insurance agent.
okay, let's move on to, Tracy's failing, I can tell. She's about to fall asleep. She's been up since 3:30 this morning.
We're gonna be back up looking for flood and ice again.
No, I seen a notice on my phone in Carter County, they got some road flood.
Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Racy to approve the proposal with Logmen.
Log me in.
Logmen, I thought that was
Logmen.
saying something, thank y'all.
Wow, man.
That's what I thought it actually said, and I was trying not to pronounce it that way. To provide hosted voice over internet protocol phone service to all 8 schools plus the board office. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I'll second that.
I thought we was gonna table that till we found out some more information.
Do you all wanna table that? We can table that right now, can't we?
I'm a no as it stands right now.
Well, that's what I said, you asked for some information and.
Okay, let's table that. I'll make a motion to table that
Second.
until Tony gets us some more information. Second by all in favor. Please consider the recommendations of Superintendent Racy to approve the, always standing up, he knows it's his time. Please consider the recommendation of Superintendent Racy to approve the non-resident contracts with Boyd County and Racine Independent Schools as submitted. Okay, motion?
No.
Hold on, let Lance do this.
Lance,
I just got the.
Mr. Royster,
Brand X up there.
Lance all
I
over.
don't know, I kinda might want to do right.
Yeah, Wood County's good.
It says 1 to 1.
Brand X is the one I kept.
I've been arguing with this for 100 years.
I know. Okay, so, meeting is yours, Mr. Collier.
Well, essentially, we are going by the Kentucky Board of Education's final conclusion that was issued in February of last year, and have added a 1-to-1 exchange with Racing under this contract.
Starting this fall.
It would be for the 21-22
Yeah, this
school
fall,
year,
starting
yes.
this fall.
Energy.
1 to 1.
That's what we're doing right now, correct?
That's correct.
And you really think it's what we're doing?
It is. I know it is.
You've been after them.
The only thing I wanted to ask about, in this paper
Okay.
is, it says you get a non-resident pupil attend, a report after the first 2 months of school, and then at the end of a term. Is that the end of the semester?
That's, yes, that's at the end of, what number are you looking at, Lance?
Number 3.
Is the Board of Education or addition?
Oh, that's just the standard, for every,
Yeah, that's an
Standard for
attendance
everyone.
report.
that's
Yeah.
standard for everyone. The
Okay.
one that you wanna specifically look at for Raceland to see the differences, like this is just the same verbiage on every one of
Okay.
them.
Every contract.
We've never seen
has
one.
Yeah.
this
Okay.
on it. That's over the instructions.
Okay.
So even if you're like with Russell or anybody, it's
Yeah, this
for
is what-
Voip
this is
County,
the
it's over the
standard
same.
everybody's saying.
That was the issue we had with the Boyd County contract. It wasn't,
That wasn't on there, yeah.
yes, it wasn't listed on the other side.
But the
Okay.
specifics that make Raceland different are located in A through D here.
Right.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking, is Raceland's really surely 1 to 1?
Now, should we have something in here that states that we have to have a list ever so often of who's there and who's not?
We do, we share those lists back and forth, and that's, the list changes, it's an ever-changing list.
Kinda like
And
the
so,
weather, right?
The big thing on this is just to make sure that, that I keep up on the 1-to-1. So for
Right.
example, if we have a student from Greenup County enrolling there, if they have one more student than we do, then that would be a non-resident, non-contract students, which would mean that they would not receive funding for that. Well, if state would enforce that, I would, notify, say, something like that if I needed to.
So are you saying if they take one of our students and enroll them, then that has to balance that we do the same?
Yes, if it's
Well,
12,
I have kids that lives out close to where I live that are going there to school to play football.
right.
And I just, how are they doing it?
Well,
You know,
Well, if they've already been there, then
well,
they're allowed to.
they're in grade school. And one of them's not even in school yet.
under the final order,
Send us that address, Linda.
from the Kentucky Board of Education.
It's in my family, that's how I know.
1213 and 1920.
Maybe playing JFL, that don't count.
I agree.
Well, I'm just saying, how did they enroll
Everything
them?
off of,
Are they
Are they just basing
it
off
If it's in
18, 19?
JFL, you don't have to be enrolled in school.
Funding
But
in
he
general.
is, he's in.
So it doesn't matter how much we argue with them on this.
How did he even
you
get
think
that?
the only reason I'm
Okay.
asking,
All right.
on here it says 1920, but we're, I mean, obviously, we're still keeping track of attendance and all that kind of stuff, okay. That was, that was,
What does Raceland say to you about it, anything?
I think
You
that
think they're
they
working,
would
you
open to
think
the
they're working with you?
Yes.
Well, great, that's a positive.
Okay.
I think that's a good thing.
I think as long as we stay,
I just don't believe them.
we don't talk about it.
Nothing to lose.
Right.
Do they think that's a good thing?
claps are on.
They got more.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, they got a whole lot more to.
Yeah, they got a whole lot more before.
That's why I'm saying, I can't believe they agree with it.
They didn't have.
But I still wanna know how
They
they're
have
still
choice.
enrolled in
Right.
civics.
Right.
They have
Okay.
choice.
Yeah.
I know they're still, how they still enrolled
Alright.
in
Consider
what.
who's on the board, I think.
Okay, so is everybody, any more questions for Mr. Collier about Boyd or, Braceland? Thank you.
That orange place up the street.
Yeah. No more questions? Can I get everybody, what am I doing here? A vote, please. All those in favor? Aye. No? Okay. So here's you a tricky one, the next one. Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Bracy to approve the Greenup County Board members to attend the KSBA Annual Conference April 23rd through 25th, 2021 in Louisville, Kentucky. Could I get a motion?
You want us to make a note?
I'll make a motion.
You gotta, well, to even talk about it, we gotta make the motion.
I'll second it.
I don't.
I think if this, I'm not sure that we need to go, per se.
You ain't gonna let cheerleaders go, we can't go.
This,
That's right, I
actually,
agree.
this, yeah. The point of putting this on the agenda right now is so that we can pay for the registration, because if we do not go in person, we actually do need to do it online, virtually. So this allows us to pay for our registration
Right.
financially.
Okay.
So that is the whole point of it being on the agenda, is so that we can make sure we can get you guys the passes.
Right. Which Carl and Linda will have a hard time with, well, Linda will have a real hard time with that.
Yeah, cause I take things like.
So it's not approving whether we're going to go to Louisville, it's that we're going to use the classes, one way or another, correct?
It all falls under the same umbrella.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Because what could very well happen with this conference, just as it did last in the fall, is it becomes virtual anyway.
It becomes virtual.
So there's a very good chance this will be virtual no matter what.
Well, the state mandates ours, so.
That's how I got
There's
the
certain classes, there's certain classes. that-
Yes,
All
Carl
right.
did his virtually, that actual conference in the fall.
Okay.
I had my leader Lance, he had me get on my, in the first.
No,
So,
no,
he did, Lance had us, Lance had us all figured out.
I did
All right.
one on Friday evenings all day Saturday, but it didn't count.
Huh. All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. 5-0. Change order approval. Ooh. Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Bracy to approve the addition of Jason McKell Elementary School roof replacement as submitted. Could I get a motion?
motion.
Austin, second, Gordon. I think we've all already talked about this,
Yeah.
Yeah.
so does anybody have any other questions on that one?
Now, when we add 28 days, does that make an agreement?
We, yeah,
It's resolved, they're still,
no,
they're still late, but
correct.
28 days less than we thought they were last month?
Correct, but it's still up to them. We're agreeing, signing the change order, it's still up to them to agree with it's a negotiation process.
Okay,
Yeah, so do I think this is the end of it? No. Is it a good start? Yes.
But you all can't even go to them with the 28 days until we approve the
Correct.
change.
We have went to them, our architect went to them and said, hey, this is what they're presenting at the board meeting, so this is what's up for grabs.
all right.
And that's a negotiation, but the dialogue is open, they're communicating, we're gonna meet somewhere in the middle, which is
All
what
right.
they've told us from the beginning, so.
All right, all those in favor?
Uh,
5-0. Jimmy, thank you for protecting us. Appreciate it. Next up, consider the recommendation of Superintendent Bracy to approve the addition of 28 days to the McKell Elementary School roof replacement project as submitted. Oh, shoot, the
We just did 28.
Portland, sorry, 42.
42.
Consider the recommendation of Superintendent Bracy to approve the addition of 42 days to the Wortland Elementary School roof replacement project as submitted. It wouldn't be a meeting if I didn't do that.
Goes up before the German.
Mr. Royster, I'll second that one. We're in the same thing here as what we just did, so all those in favor? 5-0. Okay. Ms. Maracy.
Yes.
Ms. Maracy had me read a book. I encourage all of y'all to read it. Well, I asked her to read it. It's called The Energy Bus. So, at the end of each meeting, we are going to hear 3 positive things about our district that we maybe didn't know. So,
Okay, so, actually I have, Mr. Collier is showing the graphic
Oh.
for me, but I can't see it. So, we have a lot of Collier.
we have a lot of our
Correct.
Our
Correct.
short one.
But I wanted to share some positive events that are going on in our district and just kind of let everyone know what's going on and end our meetings on a positive note. So, with that said, Mr. Collier, my very first one, I do believe, if I'm looking at this correctly, can I look at it? Oh, thank you.
Just don't push any
Saved me,
buttons.
Mr. Collier. Look at this. I have the whole key to the broadcast in my hand. Okay, the first thing is I would like to thank everyone in here that's been helping out with social media sharing our events and things that are going on. We had a need for bus drivers, and we now, just within the past 2 weeks, had 5 applicants for training. So putting the word out in the community, getting the word out, and calling and asking questions has really helped. So I just want to thank the community for that. McKell Elementary is welcoming their new assistant principal, Heather Bond. She's in her 11th year and doing really well with understanding curriculum at the elementary level. So she's going to be a big asset at that school. And then the last thing is I want to send out a special thank you to our media specialists and school staff who have been doing the reading engagement activities online for everyone. Whether it be, there's been board game exchanges, there have been hunts, cyber hunts, there have been book deliveries. They've been actually driving books out to homes. So I just can't say enough about all the work that's been going on with our literacy initiative, because we wrote this grant thinking we were going to have kids in a building.
Right.
And we've had to change it and flip it on its head to get out to the homes with it. So I just really appreciate the extra work. And we're excited about getting kids back to school so that we can do it the way we meant for it to happen. So
Thank
those are
you.
my 3 pieces of good news.
Thank you very much.
How was our lunch program doing?
They're doing very well. We had a couple of young ladies who got quarantined this past week, so Argo Light has really had to shift gears and get some extra help out there, but hard workers, can't appreciate them enough.
Do you need us to set a working meeting tonight?
Yes.
Can we do that, Jimmy? We can set a working meeting that's on.
I don't know that it has to be before or after the adjournment, though. Does it matter?
It doesn't have to be what?
Before or after the adjournment, do you know? Does it matter?
You can do it anytime. This is a regular meeting.
Okay, all right. Okay, everyone. Let's have a motion to adjourn.
It's adjourned.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0. This has been a longer one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But don't go anywhere.